Welcome to the Nothing Much Just Chillin' Show with your hosts Emma and Julio. Nothing much, just chillin' show. Nothing much, just a chillin'.
Welcome back to NMJC, or welcome if you're new here. I'm Emma, and this is my podcast called Nothing Much Just Chillin', where we chill. And today, we're chilling with a very special guest, TikTok superstar.
Oh my God.
Jaz Melody.
I'm
Yay.
honored and flattered and undeserving. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited for you to be here.
I'm so excited to be here.
We've been wanting to chill for a very long time.
Yes.
And now you've officially moved to Los Angeles.
Yes.
But you did live here before.
Yes. Yeah. I lived in LA for 4 years, took a quick hiatus, moved to San Diego for a year, and then I'm back now.
Why'd you move to San Diego?
I needed to get out of LA.
Oh, okay.
I basically was just very tired. So I did like from like 22 to 26 age in LA. And I was like, I did the whole pandemic there. And I was just like,
Right.
I need to like get out. So much has happened here. I need a breather. I wanted to like see what San Diego would be like, you know? And yeah, it was really like a fun experience. I had a good time being there.
Did you spend time in San Diego prior to moving there?
I went there like twice.
Oh, okay.
I honestly was like not super familiar, but I'm like, you know what? Like it's fun. Like what's not to like? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I had like 2 friends there, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it. You know? And so that was really fun. I felt like that was like my year of like rest and relaxation. You know,
Did you live by the beach?
Yeah, I lived like by the water, and so I'd walk to the water every day, which was really nice. I lived like in Little Italy area, so that was really fun.
I've been to I love San Diego for a very one very obvious reason.
Yes.
The vegan food there.
Oh,
is really
yeah,
good. Like
it
Donna
is good.
Jean,
Yep, love Donna
Trilogy,
Jean.
Sanctuary. Have you been there?
Mhm.
Up on the
Those
rooftop?
are my spots,
Oh
yeah.
my God. The first time I went there, I was like, am I tripping? Like, what is going on? Like, there was
So
a
good.
yoga class
Yeah.
going on next to
Yep.
me eating, and I was just like, what?
Yeah.
It was magical.
It's so good, yeah. So I had kind of like a little year of rest and relaxation, and just used it as like a year to just kind of like isolate and work on self-care and just
Yeah.
like do something new. And then I realized that all of my friends were still in LA for the most part, and I was constantly driving back like every other weekend for like a birthday, a dinner, like all of these
Right.
things. And I was like, okay, this just is not practical anymore. So
Yeah.
I came back, and it was, I don't know, it's nice. It's been like a nice journey, you know. I don't regret it at all. It was really good. Yeah.
I'm glad that you had that period of rest, but what makes you think that like you can't have that rest and relaxation like here?
It was funny. For some reason, I just knew I needed to make a big change at the time. And my roommate and I have been living together for 4 years, and we both were like, we need something new. And I wanted to live alone really badly. That's something I wanted to experience for myself.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I couldn't at that time picture myself moving somewhere else in LA. I was like, I need something like a bigger change than that to like really
a
like
huge change in
reset some
environment. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, and it was just funny. I just felt like I'd grown up so much in LA, and to me it felt like every street that I was driving down felt like so many flood of memories every time, in like good way and bad way, you know?
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
I'm like, I feel like I just need a breather, you know what I mean? To get some space from like everything and just like reset myself a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
It was nice.
No, that's really nice that you had that
Yeah.
time, but welcome back.
Thank you. It's so good to be back. I honestly am really happy to be back. It's nice.
We met
Mm-hmm.
because of our mutual friend Thea.
Yes.
I think I was trying to think of like when I first met you, and I think it was her birthday.
I think so
it was
too,
her
yeah.
birthday. We were like in the backyard of some house.
Yeah. I think Joshua Tree. Was
it?
that? I think
No,
so. Or no,
I feel like
something
it
else.
was the previous birthday.
Oh, okay. Yes. That was
I think it was
the
her
meeting.
26th birthday.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But it was you, Jackie,
Yeah.
and I think Aspen.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually like spend time together until
Yes.
I think the next birthday when we all went to Joshua Tree.
That was so much fun.
That was really fun.
I miss like those adventures so much. I'm like, someone needs to have another Joshua Tree birthday.
It was during
like,
the pandemic too, so it was really nice to get away.
It was so like needed to just be in nature, like with friends. Like we were so isolated and like,
I talk a lot about like TV shows.
Oh, I'm ready.
On this podcast because we're a chill podcast.
Yes.
We're just, Julio and I, we love to chill and just like sink into the couch on weekends.
That's me.
What is the last show that you binged?
So there's a couple shows that I had been watching on a weekly basis.
Okay.
The Notorious and Just Like That. Very interesting. We all hate it but need it. You know what I mean?
I watched the beginning of it with my sister, but I never finished it.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to keep on watching?
It's like, you're not really there for the plot. You're there for like the nostalgia of it all. You know what I mean? Like I saw someone tweeted being like, this horrible fucking show got renewed, thank God. Like, need it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I love shows like that.
Yeah.
I mean, The Summer I Turned Pretty.
Yeah, that was
Outer
my second
Banks,
one.
Riverdale,
Yeah.
like all those shows
Yeah.
are absolutely terrible acting.
Yes.
Like it's the worst thing ever, but it's the best.
It's so good.
It's just so fun to like watch with your friends too and like make fun of it.
Yeah.
Me and my best friend will like be like screaming at like Belly and
I
Summer
know.
I Turned Pretty. Did you watch it?
I just finished it. Yeah.
Okay,
It was that's so funny. I love like a teenage nostalgia, like first love. I don't know why, like as women, we like eat that shit up, but I do every time. It's so good. Like,
but it's like I feel like they used to be better, like with the OC and like Gossip Girl and One Tree Hill.
those used to be crazy. I feel like at least Summer I Turned Pretty, you're like, okay, you literally are a 17-year-old.
Okay,
the other
that's
one,
right.
these people would be like, I'm addicted to drugs. I crashed my car. My parents are
went to insane
like
parties,
spies.
all the time.
Yeah, like it's just nothing made sense.
Yeah,
I
my
mean,
parents
it
are going to
was very
jail.
euphoria core. You know,
Yeah.
very like not. And so it's funny, like growing up with that, like that we did. We're like, once we got to that age, we're like, oh, my life is not like that at all. You know?
Well, definitely not for me. But you grew up in California, right?
Yeah.
In the Bay Area, right?
Yeah.
Was it ever like that?
Honestly, it kind of was in some ways. I grew up in what I kind of describe like a rich hippie town, if that makes sense. And like
that's
we were
California
like
to a T.
yeah, exactly. We were like neither at the time. I'm hippie now, but in ways. But yeah, it was really interesting. It felt like there was such a, because I grew up like right outside San Francisco, so a lot of the people, their parents maybe made a lot of money in tech or whatever and like bought a house in this town, and then this town kind of became like a lot of wealth but also a lot of like problems. Like people like would constantly be getting into their parents' drug stash and throwing these parties and like it was really like there was huge drug and mental health problems alongside it, but it's like scenically so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And there's like everything you could ever want there. So it was like a very interesting place to kind of grow up and see the way that affected people, I guess. I don't know.
Back to the shows that you've binged. So what have you been watching?
So yeah, Summer I Turned Pretty. Okay. Randomly, I started watching Grace and Frankie. Have you ever seen it?
I haven't seen it, but
it's really good.
Yeah.
So funny enough about TV shows, I used to be such a reality show girl and watching so many of those, and I had a realization that it was like messing me up mentally. And so I made like a conscious shift to switch over to something like Grace and Frankie with like two elderly women that is like palate cleanser, because
you need that.
It was just really interesting. Like I realized two things were happening. One, I was starting to feel like constant dysmorphia because all of the reality shows, everyone is so plastic surgery now, and I would just be binging Love Island all day, and I didn't realize that was like affecting my brain as much as it was.
Especially UK.
100%. Yeah, definitely UK. I like looked at a side by side. If you ever are like bored, you could like look up season 1 Love Island versus like season 6. The people, it's completely different. They used to look like normal people for the most part, but now it's like really, really intense. And so I realized, I was like, oh my God, if this is the only media I'm consuming is like this, that
on top of like social media, you have that all the time now, and on top of that, living in LA and like
Yes.
seeing it IRL.
100%. And so I'd be binging these shows and I'd look in the mirror. I was like, oh my God, something's wrong. Like I need to fix this and this. And then I was like,
Right.
what is that? And yeah, I also thought it was giving me like relationship paranoia also because everyone is just constantly like fucking each other over and like no loyalties, no values in that way. And so
You see the man like give all these like sweet
Yes.
talk to this girl,
Yes.
and then the next one that comes in, he says the same exact thing. It's like,
Yes.
oh, do you not know that you're being recorded right now?
Yeah.
Like, how do you forget? Like, how do you act like this
yeah.
when you know you're on camera?
Exactly. Or like kind of having a lot of feelings for someone, but then ditching them for like a new hot girl that comes in just because it's like,
The bombshell.
yeah, it was really interesting. And I started to like realize how that was starting to affect the way I viewed the world in a weird way. I was literally talking to my therapist about this and she was like, oh, that's so funny. My daughter watches Love Island. I was like, it's so interesting. Like,
It's very toxic. It's a social experiment.
it
Like
really
these people don't know
is.
at all like what's happening on the outside. Like
Yeah.
any news. Like it's so
Yeah.
funny because this summer all of them like had no idea about like the submarine, that whole fiasco,
Wait,
and then
I'm
coming out and being
dead.
like, what? But you don't have your phone and you don't have your family, you don't have your closest friends to talk to. Like it's just this social experiment about these
Yeah.
hot ass people who have never been able to make it work in love, have never been able to have like a long-term relationship before, all coming together to be like it's just chaos.
Yeah.
That's what ensues, just chaos.
Yeah. And then the producers like mentally obliterate them. It's so
Right.
funny. I used to, when I was younger, I wanted to go on Love Island so bad. That was like my dream. And now looking back, I'm like, they would have given me PTSD literally. Like I couldn't have handled that.
Yeah.
They like keep you up all night long, which I can't. I need like 10 hours of sleep minimum, and they like deprive you. They give you too much alcohol, and I'm like,
Also alone time.
yeah, oh my God, I would get so overstimulated. It's
There
not
was
even
this, I
funny.
don't know if you watched, I mean, you probably
No, but
stopped,
please like update me because I am still on Twitter looking at all the tea and trying to piece it together. Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen anything from the last UK,
Uh-huh.
the season 10 that just aired. This one girl, Molly, was kind of getting like attacked online, or people were saying like, oh, she's not a girl's girl, or oh, she didn't get along with the girls or whatever, just because when it came time when they had their breaks where they had lunch and stuff, she would just go off by herself, like sit by the pool by herself and
Oh, that
just
would be me.
have her alone time. And some of the girls, I guess the way that they said it, I'm sure they didn't mean to be like, oh, she was rude,
Yeah.
but kind of like, oh, she kind of did her own thing, and then it was misconstrued to the public as like, oh, well, she was standoffish. It's like, no, you're with these people 24/7. You sleep in the same room with them. You have to brush your teeth next to all these fucking strangers. Like, you need time alone.
I would go insane. That's
Same.
literally how I feel when like we used to get like Airbnbs for like 4th of July or some holiday with like a bunch of people for a couple days. I would be that person being like, I'm going into the woods by myself for an hour. Like I can't,
No,
you know
same.
what I
I couldn't
mean?
do
Like
it.
it's so much. It really takes like such a specific personality to be able to handle that. Like
yeah,
I can't even imagine.
that's really smart and responsible that you don't let yourself watch that stuff now. I totally understand. I mean, sometimes I remember when I first started showing Julio, I didn't finish it with him, but I grew up watching One Tree Hill like, all the time, and we would watch it, or I tried to show it to Julio, and he was like, oh, now I get why you're so like crazy about certain things, or like why you think that like all these crazy things are gonna happen, and then I'm just gonna go off with somebody else.
Literally, it's so crazy to think about like the things we consume all day long, and especially something like Love Island. It's like a new episode every single night. Like that was all I was watching because like I didn't have that much time to like do any other TV shows or whatever. So it's like
No, it's
you're
it's
just
a
in this
religion, really.
world.
For me.
No,
When we
same.
watch
It was
every night we're watching it, but now
It was
now
my
it's
life.
done. Then now we watch the UK, watch the US now. Now we're doing a little breather. We're watching some like classic movies. Watched Notting Hill the
There
other
you
night for the
go.
first time. I was like, wow, this is so cute. Like,
It literally
so wholesome.
is a brain cleaner. Like you need that soap and water, like clean the brain off. It's so funny. Well, even things like Love is Blind and like all of like those are so intense. I love them, but they're so intense sometimes, you know.
it's kind of mean too
Yeah.
to
There's
put people
there's
in that situation to be like judged by the public for like we can see their looks, right? But it's like thinking like, oh, like you kind of like know what's gonna come
Yeah.
down. I mean, I've only watched one episode of Love is Blind.
Oh, it's crazy.
And I stopped watching it because I was like, this feels so icky to me. Like, I don't know why Love Island doesn't feel icky to me, but Love is Blind, I was like, oh.
Well, because like Love Island, everyone's like 21 and like on a different planet. They're like so straight out of Instagram, like happy-go-lucky, like they have no idea what's going on ever, which bless them. I love that for them.
Yeah.
But like Love is Blind, everyone's like in their 30s and they're like genuinely looking for marriage. And so you're like, oh, you're getting like psychologically manipulated.
Yeah.
Right now.
And probably more different kinds of people than Love Island, because Love Island is kind of like all the same sorts of like party-ish young people, you know?
And like they're former influencers too, you know what I mean? They already understand like the social dynamics that I feel like could mimic like fame in certain ways. You know, they understand how to navigate these things. But I feel like if you're just a random person and you're thrown into this, it's like that's a lot to process, you know?
Especially after. Like, I don't know about the US, but the UK, they have like welfare teams. So when you leave the villa, you sit in the room with your welfare team and they tell you like everything that people have been saying about you online.
Whew. Yeah.
That's
How do you think you would do on Love Island? What do you think your archetype would be? How you would handle it? What you think people would think is like problematic? Like what, all of it?
I don't know. I mean, I would probably be like that girl Molly and like want my like alone time, because I can't. Also, if I don't get enough alone time, I like snap. So I understand why people like go off on people in there, like why they get so why some of them become very like sisterly too, and will get in fights with each other because you're around that person like so often. Like I'm always mean to Julio. Like he just laughs. Like he's totally fine with it, but. I'm such an introvert. Like, I don't think I could even do it.
Yeah.
/ I wouldn't ever like chase someone, you know? Like I would need somebody to be like all about me. And if they left, like I'd be like, oh, whatever. But it's hard for me to like even think about like dating now because I haven't done it in so long.
Oh yeah, exactly. It's so different. Yeah.
So, well, I wanted to ask you about dating because, well, you do have a boyfriend now, right?
I do, yes.
That's amazing. But did you have him before you moved to San Diego?
So we actually reconnected. He lives in LA while I was in San Diego, which is really funny.
Okay.
And so we did long distance for a little bit, and then I came back and like, we were together.
I guess it's not that bad, long distance, San Diego to
It wasn't
LA.
too bad. It just, I finally understood why people said long distance is so difficult. It's obviously like you miss them and that's hard, but it's a lot of extremes. It's like you go so long without seeing them and then you're together for like a week straight. And then it's hard to just...
It's like a dopamine.
Yeah, and it's
taken
100%.
away.
And then, exactly. Like going through like the withdrawals of like being with someone, and then like you don't actually get to have like the normal day-to-day dynamics of just being able to like have a work day and then get dinner with them. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so, but it honestly, like everything worked out the way it was supposed to, you know? So.
Oh, that's okay. Well, I want to get into it. But before that, when you were dating in LA,
Nightmare.
/ like date.
In case you're wondering.
Yeah. I was going to ask, how is dating in LA? Because I've never done it.
It's honestly like nothing else. It's really funny. I think this is the way I have kind of packaged it in my brain. This is just a whole city of people that are trying to make it, which this isn't like a new concept. However, the way I see it is that there's so many people, maybe especially men as well, who are waiting until they have found success and then they will leave LA to settle down.
Yes.
That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
And so when people are dating, it's not really that optimal to want to find a relationship. I feel like it's really good for networking, meeting new people, having fun, like that aspect of it. But
or making content.
100%.
Yeah.
Exactly. And like, I also find especially men, like they have such a complex around wanting to be successful before they settle down with someone or they like meet someone, because maybe they think that like there's going to be someone even better out there for them, or they want to be able to like be the provider or whatever it is in their head.
There's also probably a lot of the stereotype of women in LA who are looking for a very successful man to take care of them.
For sure.
That they are at like the top of their career, you know?
Yeah. Adding on dating app culture on top of that, it really creates this constant always searching for someone else and someone better.
Yeah.
And so it's like incredibly hard to meet people in a genuine way. I guess if you're kind of in either maybe like influencer culture, entertainment, or even just like party culture, you know, even like different areas of LA, it's like everyone really just wants to like get down, you know what I mean?
Totally.
So if you want to have fun and just mess around, this is the perfect city to do that. But if you want a relationship, it will be difficult.
Do you have like a worst date experience in
I
LA?
have a whole notes app of the worst dates that I ever went on in
oh
LA.
my God. Okay, maybe just give one or two.
Kind of a notorious example, I would say, is I was going to go on a second date with someone that I met on Hinge, and he seemed super normal, chill, super into me. We had a good time, whatever, like the usual, right? He was on his way to pick me up for a second date, and I was at home getting ready. Like, he told me, like, okay, 10 minutes away, because he lived like an hour away, kind of like in the other side of town.
Yeah.
And he was on his way to pick me up, and I knew he was about to get there, so I get a text from him, and I was like, oh, this is probably him telling me he's here, right? I open the text, and he says, sorry, mate, can't talk. I'm going on a date right now, but I have 2 girlies coming in this weekend that we can all smash.
Oh, no.
I showed my roommate, and I was like, this is not real right now.
Immediately no.
Oh my, and I was freaking out, just honestly finding it genuinely hilarious. I was like, this is the most insane text I could have probably ever received. And then
the classic send the text to the wrong person.
I'm sitting there with my roommate, and then all of a sudden he starts calling, and I like look at her, and we're like, what do we do? And I put it on speaker, and I was like, hey, and he was like, hey, I'm downstairs. And I was
he didn't
like,
even notice that he sent that to you? Because he was driving probably.
And so I was like, did you see what you just texted me? And he said, no. And I was like, you should probably go look. And it was the longest silence of all time. He was silent for like 5 seconds, and then was like, oh my God, I am so sorry. I was like, yeah. He's like, I'm so embarrassed. I was like, yeah, that's really bad. And he's like, I don't even know what to say.
You told him to go, right?
Well, he was like, I don't even deserve to take you on a date right now. I was like, yeah, that's probably smart. And he's like, okay, never talk to him ever again. Can you imagine and to this day, I'm like, what does that mean? That text message. I was trying to decode it. I'm like,
2 girls that we can smash.
I'm like
together?
That's what I
Like,
was
what?
wondering. Like, we ? Yeah, so many questions. That's just like one of the average stories that I like acquired dating in LA.
Oh my God, that's
It's
so
just
shitty.
It's crazy. I feel like with dating apps,
Hinge, Raya, Bumble, were you on all of them?
I was on all of them, like at different times, you know, but men have gotten so good at like curating profiles to seem like a certain way. Like they've really taken their male manipulation to the next level.
Yeah.
And
like
it's
saying things to get the attention of women, like talking about like astrology.
Yeah, I've even so far there was this guy that I was talking to, and he was first of all, his profile looked really like fun. He kind of looked like fratty in a way, and at the time I was like, oh, this is fun. Like, I'm not looking for anything serious at the moment. Very like out there, hilarious over text. All of his pictures looked very like extroverted and whatever. I was like, okay, cool. I met him in person. He was so quiet, so awkward, so nothing like he was over text or in his profile. And to the point where I was like, wow, I am fully going to have to get to know this guy as like a brand new person, because this is a completely different person than I was talking to. Later into our date, I think I made a comment about it. I was like, oh, you're kind of like different than I expected. And he is like, oh yeah, like I know that like girls are like into that like super outgoing like thing. So like I do that. What?
Oh my God.
So scary. I was like, what is That is insane behavior. To like genuinely curate a brand new personality because you think girls like that, and then you show up and you're like not that at all. It was just really strange. Like you never know what you're gonna get. Like you really never know. And so that's why I think it can be disheartening if you are looking for something serious, which like I was for the most part. Like I think I always wanted like something genuine, but after a while you get so tired, you're like, this isn't gonna be anything, so I might as well try to have fun, you know? Like yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I always tell people like you should try to meet somebody like where the places you go.
Yeah.
I mean, if the places you go are out to a
My
bar
house.
or yeah. Try to meet them at your house. No, that'd be so creepy. But I don't know, maybe your neighbor.
So funny.
I don't know, a fucking bookstore, like a coffee shop, like that kind of thing. I mean, that I know that's pretty like not fair to say because there is so many more options with like dating online and dating apps and stuff. Like there are so many success stories from it.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's just nothing that beats like meeting someone out in the wild.
For sure. It's really tough. I think we're just in a really weird time for dating. Like I think our generation is probably like the most dissatisfied of dating than like any other generation has been. You know what I mean? It's really, really interesting. I think there's just so much optimization happening and everyone really wanting to find someone perfect that's going to finally make them feel okay.
Yeah, that,
you know?
or they think
And
that
it's
they
so
need
much
to be
pressure.
perfect before even starting to find their partner because they think that they're not worthy.
Yeah.
When that's not right.
It's it's really like it's something else. So I was single for a very long time, and dating around, and that'll do it to you. Like that really will. Like,
wait, so how did you meet your boyfriend?
So we actually met through one of my friends / like
mutual friend.
TikTok,
That's also
kind
a
of.
great one because like your friends know you so well.
Exactly.
Have you had any like celebrity encounters in LA?
Oh yeah, my first big celebrity encounter was probably the biggest when I was 18. My friends and I somehow had some like fake IDs to go to One Oak with her, like for her birthday or something. And so we literally look like babies in this photo. We look so young and we're just like, yay, clubbing. Like it was insane. We like drove from college.
Oh.
And we get there and someone's like, oh, Leonardo DiCaprio's here.
Of
and
course. He's always out at the
there.
clubs.
Always. And me being like 18 and ballsy, I had like prefrontal cortex was not fully developed. I was like, oh, I'm going to go up and talk to him. So I just went up to him and I was like, hey, I'm Jasmine. He's like, hey, nice to meet you. And I expected him to be like, I'm Leo, but he didn't. I was like, whatever. And I was like, how's it going? Are you having fun? He was like, yeah, I'm having a good time. Like my friend owns the place, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, cool. And I was like, all right, well, it's good to meet you. And he was like, later. Because midway through the conversation, I was like, we have nothing in common. Like, what would I talk to about this man?
Yeah. But it is kind of cool that you just like went, that was really ballsy of you.
Is
just
that
go
not
up
insane?
to Leonardo DiCaprio in a club.
I would never
like,
do
he was
that.
probably like surrounded by people.
And
was
he did not look like himself at all.
Was
like,
he wearing like a cap and
he
sunglasses
just
in the club?
Yes, verbatim, exactly that. The cap, the sunglasses.
I've seen the videos
huge
of him out.
Beard, like does not look anything like his when he's in movies. But it was just, I was like, this could very well not be him. But I'm like, it was. It just, you would never know. Someone had to literally be like, it's that one right there. I was like, what?
Going up to celebrities is a lot more difficult / the conversation can end a lot quicker than if you go up to like an influencer that you like, because you're like, oh, I know what they ate for breakfast yesterday.
I think everyone has like a different philosophy on like do you go if you're at like Erewhon or something and you see like your favorite influencer, like do you go up to them?
It depends if they like, if somebody looks like, if they're in sunglasses and a cap and like looks like they don't want to be bothered, or if they're with their significant other or like their kid, or I don't know, it has to be like an opportune moment where I know that they have time, and even then I'll be like, sorry to bother you, but I really love your videos or something like that. Probably the best one that I've ever had was Cody Ko.
Oh,
so we used to go to the same gym. This was like 6 years ago, and his landlords used to be my family friends.
Oh, nice.
And so when I first moved to LA, I moved in with them just for like a week or two. And I was going on a walk in the neighborhood, and I had just started watching his videos, and I was going on a walk, and then all of a sudden I like thought I saw him. I was like, oh, that person just like looks a lot like him. Because in my mind I was like, oh, everybody in LA looks like
Yes, 100%, which you're not wrong.
looks like Cody Ko. So I was like, oh, it's probably not him. Like, what? This is so random. And that was before I knew that he lived in Venice. Like I said, like I just started watching his videos. And then I was sitting with my family and friends in their place, and I was talking about how I went to Elon, which is North Carolina. And they were like, oh, the boys upstairs, they went to school in North Carolina as well. They went to Duke. And I was like, oh, what are their names? And they said Cody. And I was like, oh my God.
You're like, wow, this is my moment, my time to shine.
But so when I saw him at the gym, that I said, I was like, oh, like I'm family friends with your landlords, and but also like I love your videos, like I love your podcast, and just like kind of went on and on about how much I love him. But he was so nice. You could tell he was so humble.
That's sweet.
Yeah, no, he just seemed like so sweet. It was just like thanking me, and yeah, now I work for his wife.
That's amazing. So how did that happen?
My friend Margaret, she works for a talent management agency, or like a really good one. They have like a very like top clientele in the influencer world. And randomly her coworker was like, does anybody know of somebody who can edit podcasts? Margaret was like, oh, for who? And then the manager was like, oh, for Kelsey Kreppel. And Margaret was like, oh, I know of somebody. And then she texted me. I remember I was driving home from my temp job at the Getty. I was like at an intersection, and Margaret like had sent me a long text. It was like, do you want to edit for Kelsey Kreppel? And I was just like, yes.
That's so awesome. How do you like it?
I love it. It's my favorite gig.
Oh
It's
my
my
God, I
favorite
can
thing in the
imagine. That
world.
sounds like the best job ever.
It is.
It's really interesting, like living in LA and like knowing that the entire internet, that the whole world like is watching, like they all are in your neighborhood. It's a really weird it's a really weird feeling in a way, you know, because like I feel like I personally don't approach people unless it was like maybe like my idol, but like even then I don't know, I feel like I have the feeling that they like no one wants to be bothered. And that they're just like being nice, and like that makes me want to die inside a little bit, you know? It's like it's interesting.
Well, now I feel like I'd only say hi to people if I have heard them say like on a podcast, or like
that they enjoy it.
Yeah, that they like when people come up to them, and that it makes their day and stuff.
Yeah.
Because some people can get like really rude and like bothered by it.
It's
like
so funny.
Julio, he works in the music industry, and one time he went to like a Spotify party, and he saw Madison Beer, and I love Madison Beer.
I know this
like,
about you. You do love her. I remember this. Yeah.
She's my favorite. His friend was like, oh, you should say hi to her for Emma. And he was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to do it. And he went up to her and was like, hey, like...
I'm so scared right now.
I'm sure she's a lovely... She seems so nice. Like, I'm sure she's such a sweet person. But he went up to her and was like, hey, like, my girlfriend loves you. And she was just kind of like...
She's like, cool, everyone's girlfriend loves me. That's kind of my thing. Move along.
I just like was like, oh, like cool, and then just kind of like rushed past him. Like she was definitely like in a hurry, like needed to meet someone or be somewhere or get out of there or something. Like she was in a rush. But it's just funny that like the one time Julio went up to someone, like for me too. Yeah. That they were like, not gonna give you the time of day.
Oh my God, that's so.
Because I'm always worried about that. I'm always, especially if you're like in a public place too. Oh,
and that's your idol. Can you imagine? And you're just, that's so heartbreaking. They really do say never be your idols, and I kind of like agree with that in some ways. Unless it's really rare that it's just the perfect moment and they're so sweet. It's like I feel like it can go so south, you know?
Yeah.
The difference between meeting like a musician, an artist, someone who's like making like this like art versus maybe meeting someone who's like a content creator, if that makes sense. I feel like it maybe just feels super different because it does. Maybe it's more parasocial, like meeting the content creator in some ways that there's a higher expectation for like what they're supposed to be like. Being a content creator myself and being friends with so many, it's really interesting because I've really come to the conclusion that most people that start creating content are like not extroverts. Like they are people that like thrive being at home and being alone. You know? And so it's really interesting to go from like that to then being like thrown into like so many social situations, I guess. So that I find to be like so interesting. I don't know.
One person that I would love to meet and go up to, that I would definitely go up to, because I've heard her say like many times that like she loves when people come up to her and she's never gonna like ever be mean to someone, is Tana Mojo.
Oh, I met her actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh
so
God.
I used to work with her. I used to work at, this is a funny story actually. I used to work corporate social media at Tender Greens. They have like a ton of like, locations here. And I was watching a Tana video at one point and I saw that she had a Tender Greens bag in the background. And we had like a Twitter account that we like barely use, but I was like, I'm like the 23-year-old social media manager, I'm going to use it.
Right.
And so I took a screenshot of the bag and I tweeted being like, oh, we see you, Tana. And then she responded being like, oh my God, I love you guys so much, I'm going to die. And I was like, oh, so I forget how this started,
That was
but
so smart of you.
yeah, I convinced my bosses to like do a brand deal with her, and it was like the most they'd ever spent on an influencer. And so this was like a huge gamble, and it was a huge success. Like she really like delivered, and we even did like an influencer lunch with her. So had her come with like all of her friends and treated them to like lunch and stuff. And she was so sweet. I have to say, she made such an effort, because like I was not like a creator or anything. I was literally just like a little corporate girly.
Right.
And she made such an effort to like be so sweet to me, and like had me like sit down with her like at the table and like talk to her, and like made sure to say goodbye. Like it was like she really made sure to make me feel, maybe it was because I was like the same age as them, and you know, I don't know, but it was like,
that's so nice.
Really sweet. Like being able to like recognize going above and beyond. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I got so many kudos because we got so many followers and like whatever. It was like
that's
really
amazing.
funny. So,
oh my God, look at
so I credit her on being like, she almost got me a raise, which I would have gotten, but then COVID hit and I left the company. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Crazy.
Oh, COVID.
That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
That's a whole thing I won't even get into. But.
Well, to round that out, yeah, I would fucking love to meet her.
Yeah,
she's like my
super
favorite person. I like watch all the podcasts that she's on. I don't know if you know Trisha Paytas as well.
Oh,
but yeah, she
she's
just went on. They just went on each
hilarious.
other's podcast, and it is insane.
I just saw a clip from it and I died because Trisha said that on one video she spent $250,000.
A music video, yeah, of her. Like it was a music video where she was like in the military and like on the beaches of Normandy or whatever, and had CGI like things blow up in the background. Like it was insane.
I could not stop thinking about that. I'm genuinely so obsessed by someone like using their money to like genuinely invest in their art, if that makes sense. Like, but in a way that like we don't take seriously from her, if that makes sense.
She said she spent $10 million in total on her music videos. Yeah,
insane.
Or more. She said more,
which is crazy to think about. Like, yes, in some ways it's like a business move. It like makes you money and like keeps your career going, but also there is such like a self-indulgent nature to it, which I'm obsessed with. That like you're like, yeah, why wouldn't I just put so much money into like a music video of like a High School Musical, me dressing up as Troy Bolton? Like, why wouldn't I do that? I think that's amazing, and I think that should be an inspiration for all of us, because that is unbelievable.
Yeah, what the fuck are billionaires spending their money
That's
on?
what I'm
Like, they should be
go dress up as Zac Efron, have a music video. You might, like, you know, not want to farm oil from countries that need it more than you do. I don't know.
Literally. You talked a little bit about how you worked in social media marketing, but you left that job and now you're at another job with social media marketing as well.
Yeah, so I've kind of had like a windy journey. So I went straight out of college and started working in social media management for brands. I did a little freelance, but then I was like in-house as well. Yeah. And so I was like running their Instagram and doing their like marketing campaigns and stuff. And then COVID hit and I realized that I really wanted to start a swimwear company, which is how we connected also. You were my first photographer and
Yes.
took the best photos I've ever seen
I
in my
love
whole
those
life.
photos so much. They're on my website.
They're iconic. Like, they literally, unbelievable. Because I realized I was like, I need to leave the corporate world.
Yeah.
Like, I suffer at a 9 to 5.
It's soul sucking.
I was there for like a year-ish, and I had never been more depressed. Like, it was so bad. And I was like, I also realized like my energy level doesn't work for it. I would get so burnt out trying to be, because I was like the youngest one. I was like outgoing in that way, and that would like completely burn my energy. I would like spend a day being like the class clown, and then I would come into my car and just like be empty, you know.
This
and
was
like
pre-pandemic too, so you were going in like 5 days a week, right?
Oh yeah, 5 days a week, 9 to 5, yeah. And so I realized I had to get out of that. And at the time I was like, the only other alternative, I was like, is starting a business. So I guess I'll like do that. And that was like such an adventure on its own. And while I was building that, there was like 6 months while I was waiting for like manufacturers to like, you know, come like do everything and ship it to me and whatever. And so I started posting on TikTok, and like that started taking off on its own. And I realized how much I loved that. Like, that is like what got me up every day and like excited for the day. And
because you grew like a community of mainly girls, right?
Yeah.
Like, is your like, what is your ratio
Oh my
like
God,
on TikTok? Is it
probably 80% girls?
Okay, yeah,
something like that. Because like men are like, what do I do here?
Yeah.
The men who do follow me are really fucking smart though. I really appreciate them. They get it. It's really like awesome to see.
Love when a man gets it.
I know, and they're there to like learn. I'm
Yeah,
like, I love that. And so that just like fueled my fire in a way that I've never felt. Like, I realized I always wanted to be like online like that, but it felt like that train had like left in like 2018. You know what I mean? Because if you weren't famous in 2014, that was never gonna happen for you. You know what I mean? It was very like built in like that.
There's like a lot of like barriers to entry too.
Yeah.
And just like the saturation of social media now too, with like all the influencers.
Yeah. YouTube was at its height. Instagram, it's like if you weren't already famous, there's no way the algorithm was gonna show you to anyone, you know?
Yeah.
But I just like loved TikTok so much. And so I like dedicated so much time and energy to that. And so by the time I finally launched, I like really enjoyed the process of running the business, but I was so torn because I just loved social media still. I ran the business for probably about a year, and then I was kind of at a crossroads, and I was like, you know what? My dream would be for someone to pay me to make TikToks. And that wasn't as much of a thing at the time. Corporations hadn't fully gotten online like that.
Right.
And it was just different. Like, what they had at the time was like just posting product videos. They didn't really have anyone like personality based on there.
Right.
And so I got connected with a company, and who's like, we'll pay you a full salary to make videos for us. And I was like, oh my God. And like all from home. I had some meetings during the week, but it was nothing crazy. I've worked with 2 different companies since then, and a bunch of freelance as well, but it's been so much fun. Like, it's really the dream job. Like, and I just enjoy it so much. So it's nice. I get to use like the knowledge I had from my old like marketing career, and then I get to have like this kind of new aspect of it too, which is like really fun.
You being like the face and the voice of a brand online.
And it's so experimental and so fun. And like, I also do like consulting and strategy for brands too, if they want. And it's just really interesting. I keep telling them, I'm like, you have to be like fun. You have to like genuinely find the videos that you're making fun and interesting.
Yeah.
If it's only funny to like your small office, it's not gonna ever get any views. You
but
know what I mean?
also, like, you're young. You're a person who is on social media, like scrolling. Like, you know what's up. Like, you know what's gonna do well. Like, there's so many people in these like marketing positions of these big companies like that. You know, do you even have TikTok?
Yeah.
Like, do you even?
Well, they hate it. They're against it.
Yeah.
They think it's like, I mean, except for the ones that are like, this is going to like make or break my career as like a marketing executive, is like if we can succeed on TikTok now. Yeah. But yeah, they don't understand it. They don't care. Like, which I understand. Like, if I was like in my 30s and 40s, I would not be on TikTok. Maybe I would actually. But yeah, it's just really interesting. So like I've just been having so much like fun with that. It's been cool. So
on your personals page, what are like some of your favorite things to talk about, to make TikToks about?
yeah, I talk a lot about, I have like a passion for like analyzing and understanding things that are happening like in our culture or in media, for example. So a lot of my most popular videos recently have been kind of like unpacking themes in media and the way that it plays a role in our society and our culture and the way it affects women. I'm really make a lot of like very feminist content about like just examining the way gender plays a role in everything. And
Right.
I do some comedy stuff too, which is like fun, like when I'm in like a silly, goofy mood. But yeah, I really have been like loving that side of things, and it's really fun to like be able to enhance someone's experience, like consuming something or helping them like see things in a different way. I don't know. Like
I feel like I've seen your content about like the Barbie movie,
Oh, yeah?
like talking about that, and it's really. It's just nice to hear somebody like put it into words, like what like I already know in my head, but
yeah,
thinking about how that movie affected like our culture and like how so many people got mad at it. It's like they didn't even get like the point of the movie.
Oh yeah, it was so interesting. There was so much like discourse online that was so critical and negative and almost over analyzing it.
Yeah.
I went to see Barbie for the second time with two of my friends who had never seen it before, and they left being like, "Oh wow, I don't know what everyone was upset about."
Yeah.
Like, and I even think Joe Rogan said the same thing. I don't know if you saw
he's
that.
like, it's a comedy. It's supposed to be.
And it's just the way, like, I think that's
I did
where
see what he said about
that's where
it,
there's
yeah.
like a fine line. Media should be critically thought about, but it shouldn't be seen
like this thing like, oh, all women are gonna hate men now. It's like, no, actually the movie.
I'm like, first of all, they already do, so don't worry about that. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly.
I had a video about Barbie that went viral on like TikTok and Instagram,
Right.
which was crazy. But the comments on Instagram, for example, are so different than the comments on TikTok.
Oh yeah,
On
and
Instagram,
the comments on YouTube.
People
like,
are evil. Like they're, I don't know, it's Instagram's algorithm really tailors to like, okay, who is going to comment and engage on this?
right.
And so they show it to people that fucking hate women, you
Yeah.
know? I thought that kind of the worst it got was men that liked the patriarchy and liked the power imbalance and all of that. But then I got like hundreds of comments of men being like, the patriarchy doesn't exist at all. Like completely denying that that's even a thing.
Oh,
And I was like, oh, I actually didn't know it was that bad, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so that was like really interesting. So yeah, anyway, I love media that makes people like upset and talk about shit. And I think it's just really interesting.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like more things that recently happened that have affected the media in the same way as Barbie. But
I think about like the Jonah
Jonah-
Hill jinx, literally. I know.
I was just about to say that. Like,
Yeah.
when you think of Jonah Hill like weaponizing his therapy talk.
It was just, it's such an interesting time. Like we, as consumers, have never had such a voice to be able to actually discuss these things.
Just her being like, "Yep, I'm gonna share this." Like that
I
was so
know.
random.
That's so, can you imagine? Like, I'm so curious how
she knew what
how
she was
she's
doing. It's
now.
just crazy because Jonah Hill was such a loved. I mean, I could
Yeah.
replace Jonah Hill with like literally any man. Like
Yeah.
Jonah Hill was such a loved
For sure.
actor and human in society. Like he had that whole documentary thing about his mental health.
Yeah,
like,
and I actually enjoyed that documentary. I thought it was
Yeah,
cool. And
yeah.
so that was really, really...
but to see him say that, it's like, oh wow.
It makes sense, honestly. Like, these men that are raised in fame or are famous, they are super entitled and immature. Like, I hate to say that as like a blanket statement, but like more often than not, that is absolutely the case, you know?
No, I agree.
It's really crazy. Like, especially like we were talking about like dating culture and LA culture. It's like I've had various times like dating someone who like was a celebrity or had a lot of like fame in different ways, and it's like they're insane.
Yeah.
They are actually insane, and they prey on a very specific type of woman that won't won't
question it.
Well, it won't question it, or they won't want to see them for who they are for like a long time until it's too late. You know?
Because they're seemingly this perfect, like it's like the whole Army Hammer.
Oh
thing.
my God! Yeah.
Like I don't know if you watched House of Hammer.
I kept up. I didn't see the documentary, but I kept up with like the all of it. Like I followed the girl that was coming out about all of that.
Right, but I can put myself in that position and be like, oh, I totally understand why these girls would be so manipulated or blinded.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, it's Army Hammer, like Call Me by Your Name, like it's Social Network. Oh, he's like this giant movie star. Like he's normal. Like he works with people all the time. Like he has friends, he has colleagues. Like it seems safe.
Yeah. They like prey on the women that will get a high from dating them and will like worship them and treat them in a way like in which that there are no boundaries for them. You know what I mean? And they can just walk all over these girls and be the special one. It's so scary, and it happens so much in LA. Like, I don't know, especially them going for super young girls always. Like that is like another tactic. These women that like have just moved to LA, they don't know anyone.
They're just
like,
getting started in whatever career that they want. Yeah. And this person's like, I'll help you.
Yeah. Or not even I'll help you. They don't even care about your career. They just kind of like let you believe that like by being near them, like your life is going to be
incredible.
Sick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any red flags?
Oh, red flags when dating. Oh my God. So many. For me, it's really important that I am with someone that is like even tempered. If I meet someone and I can see that they get really angry really quickly, that is like my biggest like deal breaker. Like for me, that's a huge no. I'm like, if you can't regulate your own emotions, like this is just not.
My mom always told me that growing up. She's like, never marry or be with somebody who has anger problems.
Yeah, seriously, it's horrible. And like, yeah, I think the obvious ones for me are like, you know, politically, if I think that they like,
they have to be a good human.
They have to have like good morals and care about people. Yes. And I actually have a really funny one. I talked about this on TikTok a long time ago. I would be getting sick a lot, or like things would just come up, and I would sometimes have to cancel maybe like the day of or whatever it is.
Right.
And I got so much information by how that man handled me canceling.
Oh no.
Like an example would be like if I was starting to feel sick and like we had just dinner plans that day. It's not like he had to like do anything.
Yeah.
We had dinner plans that night, and I was like, hey, like I am so sorry, but I'm like not feeling very good tonight. Like I would love if we could like reschedule. If he is like, that's totally fine. Right. Like whatever works for you, please feel better, blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah.
That is a green flag. But the red flag is someone being like, oh, come on. Like, it's okay. We'll make it work. Like, you'll feel better. Like, let's have a drink. That'll make you feel better. Mm-hmm. Or even
trying
being
to push
like,
your boundary of like, I don't feel well.
Pushing your boundaries, or even guys being like shamey, and they'll be like, damn, like, that's a bummer. I'm like, shut up, dude. You don't even know me. Right. You've literally never met me before. You know what I mean? Right. It's just like, that would always tell me a huge sign of like, can this man have empathy, and can he have like understanding for like human things that come up? You know what I mean? Or at least be polite and respectful. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, those
the second
like
that would
very
happen,
basic.
It's extremely basic. Yeah. And it's like, you'd be surprised.
No, yeah. The bar is like low for men.
Absolutely.
When I started dating Julio, he was just nice to me. Yeah. And I was like, every time he was nice to me, I was like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Like, what? Like,
it makes you feel like, what are you hiding?
Yeah.
Like, are you a sociopath?
Like, is this really
you're trying to manipulate me for, I don't know what the goal is, but like, what?
No, it literally took 2 years of dating him to be like, okay, no, you're actually like this good of a human.
Wait, that's so funny. I love that.
Because I just had so many bad experiences prior to him. Like I had just gotten out of like a really toxic, emotionally abusive relationship. Like that was on and off for like 3.5 years. And then I finally was like, okay, no more. Like I need to just like cut this. Then Julio and I started talking like 3 weeks later. And during those 3 weeks, I was like, no boys. guys, like I'm not gonna date anyone. I'm gonna be by myself. I'm gonna get good grades this semester. I'm gonna go to the gym every day. I'm gonna try to work as much as I can, save up money for after graduation, and then I started dating him, and then I thought it was just gonna be like a fling, but the more and more that it was just like green flag after green flag after green flag.
Yeah.
Where it was like, okay, yeah, this person, I can't let go.
Yeah, it's really so crazy. Like, something I've been dealing with recently is finally, like, I have all these crazy dating stories of all of these men doing crazy things, and it's so funny, and it's like,
yeah,
can
it's
you
for
believe
the plot, but like it's actually,
it affects
horrible.
you. It deeply has like affected me, and it's especially in therapy, like realizing like all of the small things that I didn't think mattered because I was like, oh, I don't know these guys, like who cares? I was like, oh, this shit has like added up and has like changed the way that I like am able to like trust people, or even the way I view men. If I've had so many negative experiences with men, I'm like, oh, so they're all this way. They're all extremely self-centered. They're all wanting to just have their own agenda, and they'll manipulate you to get it. I don't know. It's just so strange. And I'm like, damn, it really is. That should be studied. Like the effects that casual dating has on people. Like, it's really insane.
No, 100%. Or even being in a long relationship with somebody who's just like putting you through hell. Women are so like, oh, well, he'll change.
Yeah.
He'll change. And then it's like years later, and it's like, he hasn't changed.
Or red flag after red flag being like, oh, well, you know, he's having a bad day.
Right. Yeah. Just like blinded by love. Like, there's so many things about my ex where I'm like, how did I not, like, he wouldn't even talk to my parents. Like, how is that not like a red flag for me? Like, none of my friends liked him. Like, I was always around people who were telling me like, Emma, you look horrible. Like, they were like literally telling me like, you look so depleted and sad, like more every day. So I don't know what's going on, but like, you should break. Like, I literally had people telling me like, you should break up with this man, and I just didn't because I was so blinded.
Well, it's hard when you are like so in love with someone, you know, and you have these bad moments, but then you have so many good moments, and it's so hard to see the long-term effects of that, I guess.
Yes. And then when you enter an actual healthy relationship, you're like, one example is with drinking. My ex, every time he drank, when we were like together, we like went abroad together, like studied abroad together. And when he would drink, he would break up with me. Like, he would like literally say to me, like, I want to break up with you. I want to hook up with other people. Yeah. And so in the beginning of Julio and I's relationship, every time he was like gonna drink, I would get so anxious. Like, I would get like worried that like something bad was gonna happen. Like, maybe not something bad like cheating on me, but like something bad like saying something to me that like was really hurtful.
That's also a huge red flag. If they're like a mean person when they're drunk.
An angry drunk.
Yeah, that's angry anything,
horrible,
but especially
angry drunk, especially horrible.
Because that just shows you like once like inhibitions are removed, that's what's left. That's freaky.
Another example is if that person like gets mad at you for like going to bed if they like wanted to do something. Wow. In the beginning of Julio's and I relationship, like, I would, if I just went to bed, like, I would have like nightmares that like he was like mad at me or like cheated on me, horrible stuff, and then I would wake up feeling like, oh my god, I'm so sorry I fell asleep. And he's like, Emma, you were tired.
It's like, you actually are a person with autonomy.
Like, you were tired, you fell asleep, like, that's fine. And I was just like,
wow,
oh, it is fine. Like, I had to really rewire my brain.
100%. It's really crazy.
And a bunch of girls do. Like, I just had that one guy in my adult life that like really fucked me up. But like you're saying, like, this casual dating, like all these horrible men, like one after another, that like gives you another fucking traumatic experience. It all adds up. And then you're like, oh my god, like, I don't want anyone to touch me and look at me like anything. Like,
it's so hard to like, I don't know, to not have your brain make like general assumptions about the way that men are and the way they're going to treat you.
Right.
If all you've ever experienced is that, it's really intense to have to stay hopeful, you know, through that.
Yeah, even with like guy friends too. Like,
the worst.
The way that Julio talks to women, like his coworkers, his girlfriends, like is just so amazing. It's just like the perfect example of like how a guy should be. That when I'm in a conversation with a guy who's not Julio, it is very hard for me to be impressed by and like want to continue the conversation, because there can be like so many red flags so quickly where someone will say something like
just misogynistic.
Misogynistic, or like judging a girl because of like her personality or her looks. Like if they say like, oh, she's fat or she's busted or like something like that, like I never want to be in a conversation with somebody like that. Julio would never ever speak poorly about women. Yeah. And that's like my number one thing when it comes to like guy friendships. I'm like, I don't want to hear you rate girls 1 to 10. No. Like I don't want to be a part of this conversation.
I also realized how many insecurities I had that were created by having male friends. And by being around guys in college and hearing the way they would talk about women when they left the room, that messed with me psychologically so much, because I'm like, oh, okay, this is how men talk about women, and this is how they view us, and this is how they're talking about me behind my back, and trying to be hyper aware of the way men were perceiving me, because it's like I wanted to not obviously be in those conversations in that way.
When you're younger, like in high school and college, and you don't have your head on your shoulders to be like, oh, they're wrong, and then you're just like taking what they say as like fact, and you're like, oh, should I not look like this? Like, should I like try to be more like the person that they're obsessed with? Like, is that gonna get me to see, is that gonna get them to see me as more than like a friend? Yeah, that really affected me, like my high school friends like talking about girls to me.
There was also, I think, was this culture, especially when we were growing up, of like, you were a smarter woman if you knew that men were always talking like this. If you assumed that they were kind and didn't judge women or see them like that, you were considered to be naive.
Yes.
And so it almost made me feel smarter and more aware to be not involved in those conversations, but to be hearing them and to be aware of them, because I was like, oh, I'm more informed now. And like, I'm not like this naive woman that thinks that men are kind to women behind their backs. Yeah. But then that actually like just wasn't the case. Like, I mean, in some ways it probably is true with certain men, the ones who really pretend to be someone else around women, but then when no women are around, they're like not that at all, you know. But you shouldn't want to appeal to those men anyway, because they're broken. Like, they're deeply, deeply broken. And it's just not it.
They're going off of like what society has shown them of like what being a man is. Yeah. But like, I think the most manly thing is like being kind.
100%.
Having respect for a woman in a way that's not just like, oh, I'm respecting this woman because she's hot. Like, respecting all women, no matter what they look like. Because that's another thing. Like, a lot of men only treat women well if they believe them to be attractive.
Yeah, because then there's something in it for them. Yeah. It's all about what they can gain from that situation. I cut off so many male friends because I was like, you're not only toxic, and it's toxic to be around you, you're also mean to me in ways that took me a long time to recognize. Yeah. I thought it was just kind of like playing around, brotherly kind of stuff. I'm like, no, this is misogyny. You're not a good person, like, you know. And I was like, I don't want to subject myself to this anymore, you know.
Yeah. Moving on to a lighter topic than men. You, Sagittarius sun, Leo moon, Aquarius rising. I remember we talked about this at Joshua Tree, because
amazing memory.
I think Fia is a Sag. Oh my god. Fia is a Sag rising, right?
I think so.
And I'm a Sag moon. So we all had Sagittarius.
Oh, that's really funny. Yeah.
But I love Sagittarius women. I mean,
the best.
Sagittarius.
Miley Cyrus, Britney. I mean, we got them all.
Yeah. But Sagittarius women are just so like positive, able to look on the bright side of things, and just very like adventurous and open-minded. Also, don't take things like too seriously. But your Leo moon, I don't know much about what that placement would be like.
Leo moon is really like this inherent childhood love for performing, being lovey-dovey with people, like being seen, because your moon sign represents a lot of like your childhood self and like your emotional self.
Okay, yeah,
which
yeah.
can be kind of seen as like the same thing.
Yes.
But yeah, it's a lot of like this desire to have big love, big performances, like big kind of energy, you know?
Yeah. Okay, well that works for you and like showing up on social media.
For sure. And it's just like fun too. And Leos can be like emotional, like people don't really realize that, but they very much wear their heart on their sleeve. And like, you know, it's
And then Aquarius rising is
Aquarius rising is a lot about
like wanting to do good in the world.
Yeah, and being really passionate about like understanding the way the world works and how to change it into like kind of like a better place, but yeah, also valuing kind of like this alone time. You're kind of like loner vibes in a way of like wanting to just kind of be like, the way I picture Aquarius is like the emo teenager. Feels very Aquarius to me. Like it's very like angsty, yeah, keeping to themselves, like this world sucks, like let's you know, whatever, like anarchy, like all of it, you know.
But you still have that Sagittarius
exactly
sun to be
the
like,
balance.
Well, it's like nothing matters.
Exactly.
Like nothing matters.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know too much about astrology. I just like know, I don't know, I feel like I just know the basics. Like I'm a Pisces sun, Sag moon, Taurus rising.
Pisces sun. Yeah, you know a lot about it, I'm sure. Pisces sun, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just very creative. I daydream a lot. I'm always daydreaming. I can be very emotional.
Yeah.
My Sag moon, I don't really know.
Yeah, Sagittarius also can be very like, they'll tell you how it is, kind of. So maybe you could like see things not as black and white, but very like, you know how you feel, and like you won't really budge on that in some ways.
Okay, yeah, that's
you know
true.
what I mean?
have like friends from home who told me, they were like, Emma, you've always been like very sure of yourself. Like I always
that's a huge trait, I think, that people don't recognize in Sagittarius. It's very like sure of oneself and like owning it and
like I don't care what people
and feeling
think.
like being like, I actually know I'm correct and that's fine.
That's so funny,
you know
because
I mean?
I say that all the fucking time. Like I care about others' opinions. Like I respect everybody else's opinions, but I also just like know I'm right for myself.
Exactly.
You know, like in regards to like veganism too, about that. Like I know that I'm right, like for myself, but like I don't judge other people for like their food choices or lifestyle choices. But I just know for me, like my moral compass is just like way too like strict that I'm like, oh my god, no, I could never.
For sure. That's so funny.
And then my Taurus rising, I'm very
earthy,
chill.
stubborn, but also
very
chill.
I'm a foodie. I love food. And that's a big thing about me. I'm a vegan foodie, and I love just very like earth sign. Like Julio's an earth sign rising too. He's a Virgo rising. So I feel like we can be very
compatible,
like,
for sure.
Sit on the couch, binge shows all day. And we're both very like lazy in that way.
I love that. That's the best way to be. And now that it's starting to get like fall weather, I'm like, cozy time.
I mean, yeah, I guess it's kind of like a never-ending summer in LA.
That's true,
really.
yeah.
Summer like
overcast with 75 degrees is fall weather here.
Yeah, summer ends in like November.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for coming on
NMJC.
Thank you for chilling with me. I really love talking to you because you just seem like so in with like what's going on like online, and you're also just like very like down to earth and chill. And
thanks.
I think we should just hang out more.
Yes, absolutely. Love you.
Oh, I love you too. Okay, thank you so much for chilling with us today, guys. Hope you love this episode, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Love you.
Nothing much, just a